what happens if two people say Beetlejuice 3 times in opposite sides of the world? what happens to them?
Yeah. I don't think anything happens. No one knows what the rules are.
I kind of think he needs to hear you say Beetlejuice, 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 or he won't come. Like, every time they do it, he's within earshot, you know?
Hello and welcome to The Popcorn Isn't Real. I'm here with my co-host, Torvald, and today we're going to be talking about Beetlejuice and the sequel, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
By the way, this is our Halloween episode, so we're going to talk about Beetlejuice and Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, because it's Halloween, and those are Halloween movies.
Beetlejuice and Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. What?
Yeah, it's got a great title.
I love the title of the sequel. I love that they went for it. They didn't chicken out. They didn't go with Beetlejuice 2.
Well, what I love
they got to make a third one.
is that he is locking in the idea that they will make a third one. They can't stop at Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. There's got to be a Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. I mean, how would you describe the character of Beetlejuice? Because I seem to remember came up with a very good description of his character, which fits so well.
The genie from Aladdin as a pervert. That's
exactly
what it is.
Well, think about it. I mean, rewatch Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, and you'll see his character is just sleazy genie. That's all he is. He's just a really sleazy genie from Aladdin. If
Genie were in like an R-rated movie,
and crazy and very pervy and handsy and
as I'm sure Robin Williams would have loved.
Yeah, he would have.
But I've always found it odd. Michael
Keaton. How is he the best Beetlejuice who could have ever walked the silver screen? Or wait, is it the
every other role of his is just so toned down and subtle. And then he goes full Robin Williams for Beetlejuice. Yeah. Just crazy.
It's so weird.
He's never done other roles like that, to my knowledge. I mean, I haven't watched a lot of his movies.
That character couldn't be played better by anyone else. Michael Keaton is perfect for it. Yeah. It's just so weird because he's Bruce Wayne. He's
like the most shy, awkward, mild-mannered Bruce Wayne of all of them.
Yeah. How do you feel about Beetlejuice as a franchise?
Well, now it's a franchise. I mean, I think it's surprising that it got so popular because to me, it seems like one of those random weird movies that I love, like, I don't know, Tank Girl, that is not popular. That's like a cult classic that I love, but no one else knows about.
Well, yeah. But I mean, people do. I mean,
it's
you're
very
right.
mainstream.
Status. Yeah, Beetlejuice is up there. Like, people know Beetlejuice.
I think it's probably because of Michael Keaton.
I would say yes, because I think he blew it away.
A movie that does not have much of a plot and is kind of all over the place. It's a little even slow paced for like the first half.
Well, it's so weird because it's so down to earth compared to the sequel. Like the sequel is downright frenetic. Like it's going crazy all the time, and it feels like everyone
because it has like 5 plot lines.
Oh yeah, I know it's got way too much going on. I think it is a good movie. I think it's fun, and it is crazy and silly and quirky, but I think it has its value. I think it's well made, and I think it's well acted. The characters are all good and solid, and like I said, Beetlejuice himself is just absolutely iconic. Like, it's interesting how they really ran with that, and they went with the idea that like he is obsessed with her, like he wants to marry Lydia in particular. This is sort of one of the theories we have about Beetlejuice, is it's supported by the movie and also supported by the sequel somewhat. They actually sort of do a good job pulling this red thread through the first movie to the second movie in a few ways, particularly relating to Delores, Beetlejuice's ex-wife, who we learn about in the second movie.
Oh.
This is played by Monica Bellucci. Tim Burton's current girlfriend. The interesting thing is, watching the second movie, as I watched it, I was like, what the heck? Who's this Delores? They're just going to like insert this random character. And my personal theory is that she kind of only ended up in the movie because Tim Burton was dating her. But that might be a little cynical.
Harsh.
I don't know if we want to. I mean, if we want to lean
I've
too
heard
heavily
the theory.
Into that. I want to disprove that because even though there is evidence of it, you can see that they were actually pulling plot lines through from the first movie with Delores. There are instances in the first movie where they actually reference Beetlejuice's past, and it paints a picture which they definitely continued to paint in the second movie. When he's talking to the couple, the ghosts, he starts listing out his credentials. And he says that he attended Juilliard. He's a graduate of the Harvard Business School, which I don't know if he did either of those things. But then he says that he lived through the Black Plague and had a pretty good time during that. And that is definitely backed by the sequel because they show that it was during the Black Plague that he was alive. Clearly, they went back and watched the first movie and picked up on these really subtle things that they wanted to carry over to the second movie. Because why else have that scene where he was alive during the Black Plague? It was literally just the tip of the hat to this line from the first movie, which I appreciate. Which is mind-boggling because there's so many other strange changes that they made that undo rules and little things from the first movie.
Big things that they just ignored.
I know.
But then they have some Easter eggs for little details that they're like, haha, we picked up on that. We just ignore all the rules, like the established rules about Beetlejuice and the ghost world and what happens when you die.
After he lists off his credentials, he's going to invite them home, I guess, but I don't know how because he's in their model, but he acts like he's inviting them home. He's saying all kinds of stuff about oh, it's a real mess. Sorry, I didn't know I'd have company. I didn't clean up. Then he says, I hope you like Italian. He's basically inviting them over for dinner and he's going to cook them Italian food, which is supported by the sequel because we find out that he is Italian.
Italian.
I was so confused when he started telling his story of his forlorn love with Delores in the sequel. Why does he start speaking Italian? Until I rewatched the first one and I was like, oh, he is Italian. He's Italian. That's why when he starts talking about the past, he launches into his mother tongue and it's supported by the first movie. He was going to make them Italian food.
And Monica Bellucci is also Italian.
Yeah, it's true.
He didn't cast her because he was dating her. He started dating her because he had this movie in mind.
Exactly.
Well,
so
he could have just cast
the last cool little piece of plot line that they carried through into the character of Delores happens at the end of the movie when the little alien guy is marrying them. Why is the minister an alien?
I don't know.
When he's asked if he takes this woman to be his lawfully wedded wife, he says, oh, I don't know. It's a bit of a big decision, isn't it? I always said if I ever did it, I was only going to do it once, and that was it. And then as he's getting the ring, he pulls out a whole finger from his pocket, and he says, I'm telling you, she meant nothing to me. Nothing at all. And then he throws the finger away. And all of this supports the idea that he was married before. He was married once. She meant nothing to him because she murdered him.
He was only going to do it once.
Yeah, he was never going to marry
twice
again.
Now.
So, well, I mean, it also supports that he really did pick Lydia. He really wanted to marry her in particular. He didn't want to marry just any woman. And then I really like this because in the first scene with Delores in Beetlejuice, in the sequel, you're introduced to her as she's putting herself back together. Her body is in pieces and she has to staple herself together. And there's one body part that I was like, why was this body part detached? And it's her ring finger. How would her ring finger have gotten detached from her body? That doesn't make any sense. And then we found out that it was detached from her body because Beetlejuice had it in his pocket because the ring was on it and he throws it away in the first movie. So that was cool. That was a really fun little piece of, it actually makes sense for that specific finger to have been chopped off. It crawled back
to the ghost world. Okay.
All of her parts can move, by themselves. So to get to the ghost world, all you have to do is draw a door. So it just found a piece of chalk, draw a door, crawled back in. But other than that, she does feel pretty shoehorned into the movie. And honestly, I think it would be a smoother movie if you took Delores out of it. I think that maybe she could have been or really focus on Delores, right?
Focused
either
on
way.
Delores.
I don't mind her as a character. She was fun.
My reactions to the sequel were just that there's so much going on. There's 5 antagonists. You've got Delores, who seems like the main antagonist, but then she's kind of not in it much. Then you've got the evil boyfriend kid. And then you've got Willem Dafoe's character, who's kind of an antagonist, but he's also barely in it. And then you've got Winona Ryder's fiance, who's not much of an antagonist. He's kind of the replacement for that fat guy in the first movie. And then you've got Beetlejuice, who isn't much of an antagonist either, but should be, because he's not supposed to be a good guy.
But no, you forgot
Anyway.
one extremely major character with a whole entire arc. You forgot Bob. He's got his own plot going on.
Yeah, well, he's not an antagonist, but yeah.
No.
So,
yeah, well,
small theory about Bob. And I think this will answer a lot of questions that I've heard. So, when Beetlejuice the sequel first came out and there were people who had seen it, I was, kind of around several conversations. And the first thing that I heard several people ask in different instances was always, does it show how Beetlejuice gets his head unshrunk?
Well,
And
it's a good question,
people-
right? That's how the first movie ends, and they kind
That's how
of
it
imply
ends,
that
yeah.
like this is taking him out of commission. He's not a threat anymore. He had his head shrunk, right?
That was the first question that people asked. And the answer always came from the person who had recently seen the movie. No, they don't explain that. But there are just like a race of shrunken head people around now.
Yeah, that was weird.
But then I watched the movie and I felt like it was very clear and explained how Beetlejuice's head is now normal sized when we saw it
Was
shrink
now?
in the
It
previous
wasn't
movie.
very clear. I was
I
somewhat
thought it was.
unclear on this. I had similar questions to those people you're referring to, so I'm excited to hear exactly how Beetlejuice got his head unshrunk if it was so clear to you.
It's quite simple. We hear him say to Bob. So Bob is one of the shrunken head workers who works at Beetlejuice's call center.
Oh, he's
I
not
don't know
just
why
one of
he
them.
has a
he's like
call
the head
center.
shrunken head worker, right?
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah,
he's the leader.
He's Beetlejuice's main guy. He's his right-hand man. Beetlejuice has a call center. I'm not sure what they are doing there or what their goal is. I'm guessing they're trying to get work for Beetlejuice.
Right.
And
that's
I
what it seems
think
like.
he wants to get work because he just likes to go to the normal world and haunt people. And he maybe kind of can't unless people say his name.
Yeah.
But
no, it's
none of that's
similar
totally
to
clear.
Well, his introduction in the first movie is just like you don't even see his face. You just see like someone pulls up a newspaper and then starts muttering in like, incoherent Popeye style muttering. He's like, oh, yeah, let's take a look at the newspaper here. I gotta find a new job. I gotta get a new job. And he pulls up the obituaries and he's like, oh, look at this couple. They look pretty stupid. I'll bet I could work for them. It's essentially he's doing that, but through the call center. He's having his shrunken-headed guys look for jobs for him. He's just a scummy guy looking to con people. And like you said, he likes spending time in the human world.
But con them out of what? They don't pay him.
Well, yeah.
I've always been confused. What does Beetlejuice get out of this?
I was going to ask you this. What were the Maitlands offering Beetlejuice for his services? Because it didn't seem like he wasn't
they were
getting
offering
anything out
to
of
say
it.
his name 3 times. So here's what I think. I think that Beetlejuice can sort of come to the... I think ghosts can only go to the human world to the place where they are haunting. Yeah. So like their house.
I think that's pretty well established in both movies.
Yes.
Like they did not break that rule. The Maitlands were stuck in their own house. If they left, they were teleported to Saturn. Oddly enough, where the sandworms live.
Well, one of the moons of Saturn.
In the first movie, they just say it's Saturn. In the second movie, they say it's one of the moons of Saturn.
To me, that gave me like Phantasm vibes. You know how in Phantasm, they're like shrinking bodies to be like small slave people to go work on a planet with high gravity.
Phantasm. Oh, yeah, Phantasm. Whoa, that was a weird series of movies. Oh, man, you're right. They did do that in Phantasm. That's so weird. And to get there, they had to, like, clang a tuning fork, a giant tuning fork to make a certain frequency. Oh, man, what a weird series. Everyone should go watch Phantasm.
Yeah, man. And listen to our Phantasm episode. It's an old one, but it's good.
Yeah, is it good? I haven't listened to it for years.
No, it's really good. It's like one of our best episodes.
The only thing I remember from that is he just keeps pulling out money. He's loaded. Where's he getting this money?
Yep.
It had nothing to do with the theory.
Nope. So Beetlejuice seems to have the ability to sort of go to other places, but not actually really come there, but like show up in tiny dioramas or like in TV ads or paper ads.
Right. But
or I guess phone ads now. But then if you say his name 3 times, he can come out really fully into whatever your domain you've summoned him to. I don't know if he can go further. Maybe if he gets married, he can go anywhere. But
I think the implication, I guess, is that Beetlejuice is some kind of an evolved specter, right? Like he has more power than your average ghost. And, you know, he can, if you say his name 3 times, then he's essentially able to come and do what he wants wherever you are.
Lydia Dietz in the sequel refers to him as a trickster demon. That's what she calls him. So
fair enough. That's an apt, description of him. I'll go along with it.
But anyway, sorry, that was a sidetrack. Now we know why he has a call center. I don't know why all the shrunken head people work for him. He goes up at one point to his right-hand man, Bob, and he says, Bob, because Delores is after him, you are going to be my decoy. You will walk in front of me wherever I go. Oh. Basically, if he is in an area where there might be danger, Bob's going to go in first, and Bob will be the one who gets hurt by whatever the danger is. In this case,
that's
Delores.
Not all he does, though.
Right. Well, he dresses him up as Beetlejuice, and he's wearing the same outfit.
Bob
and he still has a shrunken head.
Beetlejuice in that scene. I didn't see any difference between them.
Except for the shrunken head.
That whole scene existed just for a one-off silly joke that it's silly. Beetlejuice thinks that people will mistake this shrunken-headed guy for him. Ha ha. But it was not explaining any deep lore here.
No, it's deeper than that. Because here's the question that everyone's mind was, what happened that his head is now normal-sized Beetlejuice? So, that's the question on everyone's mind. So if they have someone who looks like Beetlejuice with a shrunken head, to me, that explains what happened to Beetlejuice at the end of the first movie. That wasn't Beetlejuice who went into the waiting room. That was his ever-present loyal bodyguard, Bob, who went in first and was just acting like Beetlejuice because his mouth wasn't sewn shut yet, so he can still talk.
He sure was acting like Beetlejuice. He was very, very good at acting like Beetlejuice.
And just screwing with people. Well, of course, because he's got to be a good decoy. It doesn't work if you don't act like Beetlejuice. He's a very specific person. You'd know if it wasn't Beetlejuice. Well, so anyway... And then he did what he was supposed to do, which is he protected Beetlejuice from harm. Now Beetlejuice knows, don't sit next to that guy and mess with him because he shrinks your head. Unfortunately, Bob's head was permanently shrunk. Yeah. And I think maybe Beetlejuice realized we can't have this guy mouthing off, so he sewed his mouth shut.
Oh, just like all the other shrunken head guys.
Right, and then he realized, wait, he's a very good helper with his mouth sewn shut and his head shrunken. So he went up to that witch doctor guy and was like, hey, can you shrink some more people for me? Shrink their heads because I want to start a call center.
So maybe he traded him a better
call
number.
Center of people who can't talk.
Yeah, which was also, I believe, just a silly gag.
It was very clear. It was immediately clear. I was like, oh, that's what happened at the end of the first movie. His head is no longer shrunk because Beetlejuice's head was never shrunk.
I mean,
because of
if
Bob.
If you want me to dig into it, I would, I guess, ask the question of, if all of this is true, why did Beetlejuice think that going to the waiting room was a dangerous enough situation to send in his decoy? And also, the danger that was there was only self-inflicted. It came about because his decoy, apparently, was bothering that guy, and it didn't need to happen.
But that helps explain it, because that's why he wanted his mouth sewn shut. Because you realize, having him mouth off, having him mouth off like me isn't helping, but having him look like me is.
Now, you might say ostensibly it wasn't his mouth that caused the problem, but his fingers, because he took that guy's number. It didn't matter what he said. Anyway, it's okay. Now I believe it. This is a good theory.
But why? Well, here's the question: Why does Beetlejuice trust Bob so much? And why is Bob so loyal to Beetlejuice?
Bob is loyal. Man, he sticks up for Beetlejuice until he dies. He gives his life for Beetlejuice.
I have a theory for that as well. We learn that Bob his how long he was alive at the end when it says in memory of Bob was 1372 to 2024. Now 1372 was just a few years after the Black Death, which we know Beetlejuice lived through. So I believe that Beetlejuice knew Bob, was acquainted with him or his family when he was younger.
Yeah, Bob was like his identical twin. Bob's his brother.
Eventually Bob died and they were reunited in the afterlife, and he was like, "Hey Bob," and Bob's like, "Dude, I love you, Beetlejuice. I want to be your helper again," as I'm sure he was, back in Italy.
Yeah, of course. This makes perfect sense. I like that. That's good.
So I have a theory that Lydia Dietz is cursed because, she lost the Maitlands, who were her surrogate parents. Who knows where they went or what loophole they found. Her boyfriend.
They went to the Lost Souls room, which used to be Death for the Undead before Delores came around.
Yeah. Her boyfriend / baby daddy, the father to Astrid, was eaten by piranhas. Her fiance was eaten by a sandworm. Her father was eaten by a shark, and her stepmother is killed by snakes. She's cursed. Everyone around her is dying. Literally, her whole family, all her boyfriends and significant others and parental figures, except for her real mom, I guess, who is still alive.
Yeah, that was weird. I thought her mom was dead even in the first movie, but apparently she's still alive. They announce in the second movie without ever having shown her on screen. That was so weird.
My theory is that because she's so witchy, but her dad isn't, I think her birth mother is a witch and put a curse on her for some reason. So she gets the witchiness from her birth mother. I'm not sure why. The birth mother put a curse on her that took 40 years to really pan out, but
well, now she's mad now because she found out she's got a granddaughter, and she's like, "I've never met my granddaughter. Curse you!" It just happened. She just cursed her, right? And the first one that the curse took was the husband, So
that makes
the
sense.
ex-husband, I guess I should say. The one thing that I remember, the only thing that I really remembered about this movie for the longest time, having seen it as a very small kid and then not seen it again for many years, the thing that I remembered was the weird fake grass in their fake cemetery model. I
remembered that.
Really made an impression on me. How he peels it back to reach out and catch that fly, and then how they dig it up later. I don't know why it was so striking to me, but I guess I thought it was just weird that it's fake grass, and I don't understand it. It's rubber slabs, so how can you dig it?
Well, I think it looks especially weird because they're making it in real size, but trying to make it look like it's small. But it doesn't really look like it's small. It looks like it's that weird big triangular foam stuff, but green.
Well, and how can Beetlejuice be buried under it? Isn't there just a table under it?
Well, speaking of the model, there's one scene in the original where Beetlejuice kicks a random tree and it falls down, and he says, "Nice fucking model."
Yeah.
And apparently Michael Keaton yelled that at the actual set designers because the tree wasn't supposed to fall over.
Whoa.
And Tim Burton loved it, so he kept it in.
That's good. I mean, I don't know exactly how much stock I would put into it. Generally, whenever someone says, "This line wasn't planned, but it sounded so good, they kept it," it's always
the stupid one planned. About Indiana Jones shooting the guy, and that wasn't planned.
Yeah,
he was just tired that day. No, they think you don't
dumb.
Discharge a firearm, even a fake one, without planning it.
Yeah, and the guy he shot definitely wouldn't have had a squib in his shirt to go off when it hits him, right? It doesn't make any sense. I don't really understand how them talking to Beetlejuice gave the ghost lady the idea that now they don't need Beetlejuice, and all she has to do is possess the entire family and sing "Tally Me Banana," and I just don't understand it. She seemed like she had an epiphany while they were talking to Beetlejuice, and she was like, "We don't need him at all anymore," and now she knows how to do all these advanced possession things. I just
Well, that's what I mean when I say the original movie. It feels really random. Like the
it is.
plot doesn't
It's so
necessarily
random.
follow from the previous events of the plot.
No,
like
it's just
a
random
series
things
of
happening.
events that they kind of hooked together haphazardly.
Well, and why, for
But it
that
works.
matter, why does the family love being possessed so much? They love it. They're
Yeah.
so into it.
I
They think it's the
mean,
greatest.
because they got to sing "Tally Me Banana" and dance
Yeah, they can't do that
around.
normally. I really liked that she just immediately thinks that her husband Adam, the ghost guy, built that awful strip club model building that he clearly didn't build.
Yeah.
She's like, why did you build that? Why would he? Of course he didn't.
Weird thing is that Beetlejuice didn't either.
No,
Their caseworker somehow put
Juno
it in.
built it. It was so weird. I never realized that. I always thought it was something Beetlejuice made so he could just go chill. But no, she made that.
Crazy that it shows up and Beetlejuice asks no questions.
He's just like, oh
he would
yeah,
know it's
strip
not
club and a
supposed to
model.
be there.
I think he just doesn't care. He's just having fun.
Yeah.
I thought it was odd that Otho, the fat guy, played such a big part in this movie, essentially being the antagonist.
Yeah.
But then he never got his comeuppance. Beetlejuice just gave him white clothes, and then he ran away.
Yeah.
He got white clothes.
Those other, like, Robert Goulet gets, like, and his girlfriend get, like, catapulted.
Killed.
Yeah.
You mean the two who Beetlejuice, like, launched into space with a hammer? Yeah. Like, I think they died. He smashed them through the ceiling. Like, they'd have broken necks.
That's Robert Goulet, by the way. That's the guy who your manager said for you to shut up.
Oh, my manager said that? That doesn't sound like... I forget the name. That's really good.
And he's also the bad guy in Naked Gun, too. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that is him. You're right. Did you have any comments about Beetlejuice?
I don't know how you felt about Jenna Ortega's character, Astrid. I didn't really like her that much. I felt like she was just kind of
feelings.
I just felt like she was generic angsty teen. Like, I don't think they put any thought into like writing her or making a good character for her.
I feel like that's the character they always give Jenna Ortega, and I would say it's a shame because it doesn't allow her to like show off her chops as an actor. But I can't say that because she's getting all kinds of great roles and people love her and she's getting tons of great publicity. And so, no, it's not a shame. People love her for doing that.
I feel like it was interesting to have the daughter be a skeptic who doesn't believe in ghosts, who's maybe more scientific. And I thought they should have leaned into that. But then they cast Jenna Ortega, so they had to make her really goth too. So they have her wear like ripped striped sweaters and stuff. I thought it would have been better if she was just dressed as like a preppy like science girl who was a nerd and not like her mom at all. Because her mom was totally goth and clearly she wants to be different from her. So I don't know. I just thought it would have been interesting if they had tried to make them a little more different.
I would love to see a revival that really just leans into like, you know, this is what you want. This is the callbacks and the fan service. We'll just give it to you. I thought it would have been kind of fun if her daughter was literally just mini Lydia and they were like best buddies doing all the ghost stuff together.
That would have been good too if they had really
That's
leaned
what I
into
would have
that.
liked.
But I felt like they were just halfway in between the two. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the reason I dislike Astrid is because the very first time you meet her, she goes into her room, gets scared by the most harmless ghost prop ever, just like a sheet with eyes that just swings down, and turns around and says, when you're all on your third kid and second divorce, we'll see who gets the last laugh, which is, first of all, a terrible comeback. It doesn't have anything to do with what just happened. And also she's shaming like having kids and getting divorces as the spoiled rich girl whose famous parents own the art school that is named after her that she's going to.
Right.
Like, she didn't endear herself to me with that. Like, usually if you have like poor girl gets bullied by all the preppy people at her school, it's kind of endearing. But in this case, I didn't feel like it was.
To me, I felt like, oh, so Lydia's daughter is just Wednesday. Like she's literally just Wednesday. Cause that was like, that's a Wednesday comment.
I don't have very strong feelings about her character, but as far as names go, I think it's weird that her name is Astrid when her father is Hispanic, and like Lydia is not like a Nordic name of any kind. And also, while we're on the subject of names, Lydia and Delia sound very similar. Kind of sounds like it seems in many ways that she's actually Delia's daughter.
Yeah,
you know, like biologically. It's weird that she's actually biologically related to Charles.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought that it is weird that Monica Bellucci's character Delores goes to a dry cleaner, picks out a white dress and turns it black. I feel like there were black dresses there.
That was actually really funny. I like that.
It's because she needed a wedding dress, because that's like her whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, that was fun. I like that.
So one problem I had with this movie is that there are like at least 5 moments where a person just stops and tells their backstory. And this is something that just happens all the time in modern blockbuster movies, and I hate it. But if you look at the first Beetlejuice, they never do that. No one ever tells their backstory. No one sits down and says, I'm Lydia, my mother, my father remarried. And like
Juno tells Beetlejuice's backstory to some extent. She says, oh, don't get mixed up with this guy. He's no good. He used to be my assistant. He went rogue. He does all this stuff by himself. He's just going to make trouble for you, right? Like, she kind of does that.
That's a little more interesting, though, because it's a warning, and we're also already kind of wondering about Beetlejuice. So maybe it's a question we're already asking.
No, I'm with you.
What I hate is when it's just like unbidden, out of nowhere. Here's the backstory.
I really like the consistency in Lydia's character. That apparently she's just like a magnet for scumbags, like scummy dudes just are really into her, and she can't stop them. She's just like a pushover. She's just like, well, okay. That was fun.
I like the callbacks to Lydia's wardrobe in this movie.
Oh, yeah?
She, at one point, wears her exact outfit from Miss Shannon's School for Girls, which is the school that she went to as a kid. At the very end, she wears her big, broad-brimmed, like, black sun hat thing during the dream sequence.
Dude, you're missing the most obvious one of all. She wore her red wedding dress.
She wears the red dress from the cartoon.
That's the thing she wore in the cartoon in every scene, in every episode. That's just her outfit.
Yeah, well, no, actually, it's chanting her little Beetlejuice rhyme in the cartoon that puts on that
gives
outfit
her the
for
outfit.
her. And it transforms her room.
That is what Beetlejuice would do if
and
she
brings her best
thing.
friend Beetlejuice to hang out with her. Even though it's so weird. Really so the cartoon is so weird because it's so like they don't explain what their relationship is. And you're like, why is Beetlejuice even hanging out with her? He wanted to marry her, and she's way younger than him. But the first episode is all about, oh, yeah, Lydia. It says it's our anniversary, so I got to get her a present. Right. But then for the rest of the episode, they just keep saying they're friends. Friends don't have anniversaries.
Well, it was funny, right? It's a joke. It's silly. They're faking you out.
I really wished that at some point someone, like maybe Lydia, had said in the sequel movie, like, yeah, me and Beetlejuice used to go on like adventures every Saturday morning.
I was waiting for that too.
And then Beetlejuice or someone be like, what are you, I don't remember that. What are you talking about? That didn't happen.
That wasn't good.
Just
but
like Lydia's imagination.
Well, my guess is that Tim Burton had nothing to do with the cartoon, and he probably like looks down on it and doesn't want to acknowledge it.
Possibly. So, he is listed as an executive producer in the credits.
Well, so it's just a moneymaker thing, you know? Like,
yeah. I just think so much of this movie feels just unnecessary. Like, what does Charles Dietz do for the plot? Like, walking around with no head. He could have just not been in the movie, you know? Like, he's dead. He found a loophole and moved on, like the Maitlands. I don't know.
No, I guess they needed a way to get the whole family back together for his funeral.
Delia Dietz, though, like Catherine O'Hara, she's an amazing actor, amazing character. Mm-hmm. And I thought the thing with the defanged snakes was just totally random and unnecessary.
Yeah, I know. Like, what was that?
What does Delia dying do for the plot? Like, I feel like she's way more interesting alive, you know? In this movie, they break a lot of rules that were very well established in the first movie. Time
You say
passes
very
normally.
well established, and I think that may come with an asterisk.
But time passes normally at the Ghost DMV in this movie,
Yeah.
which in the previous one,
that bugged me.
there are huge
but
time
also,
jumps because of that.
I can see why that could be a problem. For
It's a
plot
huge
advancement.
problem. I can see why they would want to get rid of it. But
Yeah.
I think so. Lydia's fiance says Beetlejuice 3 times, and they go and have couples therapy, and she has baby Beetlejuice. But
Yeah,
they
that was
never
weird.
seal
So-
him again. So, like, from what we learned from the movie, he's out. He can do whatever he wants.
he's
He could
free.
turn into a snake and just attack whoever's in the house now. She later says his name 3 times to summon him for help, and he makes her sign a marriage contract. But that wouldn't have summoned him. That would have sealed him. Because in the first movie, after they've already summoned him once, Beetlejuice turns into a big snake, and Gina Davis has to say his name 3 times to seal him again.
Beetlejuice, and get rid of him. Yeah. I mean, well, refresh my memory. How did they get out of the group therapy session after she had her
She
baby?
says, home, home, home. Which is
Okay,
what
great.
Gina
Which is
Davis
what
says
Gina
in the
Davis
first
did,
movie,
yes.
which is why
But
he's
that did
not
not seal
sealed.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't see why that quite works, but maybe it doesn't work. Maybe
it's just
Beetlejuice does that to you, so you
Yeah.
forget to seal him. There's a point at this movie where all the shrunken head dudes just run out of like the house into the normal world. First of all, I don't think they should be able to do that because that's kind of what Beetlejuice wants, right? And he has to get
that's
married.
what he gets. So, but hold on. This actually makes sense within the plot of the movie, right? So Beetlejuice made an illegal hole between the human world and the spirit world. And then he used that hole to smuggle Lydia into the spirit world. And after he did that, all of his shrunken headed dudes used that same hole to get back into the human world, which is apparently what every ghost really, really wants. So it makes sense. And it was bad. But for whatever reason, the police don't seem to care about the shrunken head guys. They're just going after Beetlejuice. Well, he was the one who made the hole, so I understand he broke the law there.
Okay, I guess what you're saying then is if Beetlejuice did ever get married to Lydia, the police couldn't arrest him and bring him back.
I think that is the point, yes. But I mean, like you said, they play fast and loose with the rules, so who knows?
Yeah. Well, but my problem with the shrunken head guys wasn't actually breaking any rules, just that when they come out, no one would be scared of them. It's Halloween. People would be impressed with their cool costumes.
Just look like silly costume guys. Yeah, I know.
At Comic-Con, we saw 2 people dressed up like those shrunken head collar guys, and they looked amazing. They looked just like them. And I didn't run away screaming. I was like, cool, that's awesome. My kids thought it was awesome. So in the Ghost DMV, Lydia is with Beetlejuice, and they are going to help her daughter Astrid. But at one point, Beetlejuice just randomly says, hey, I got to go use the little boy's room, and leaves.
Yeah, that was weird.
And Lydia's on her own. You think it's because maybe he's avoiding Delores, or maybe he has some other scheme going on. But he doesn't.
He doesn't.
The next time we see him is because Delia says Beetlejuice twice, not 3 times. And he just shows up next to her and is like, hey, let me help you out for no reason.
Yeah,
why is he helping her out?
I don't know. And I don't know why he left. Apparently, he really had to use the little boy's room.
And then the next time we see him, he shows up as like the stamp person who kills the evil kid.
He's
who was
fixing
trying to take
everyone's
Astrid's
problems.
life.
He becomes Deus Ex Beetlejuice and starts solving all the problems of the entire movie in rapid succession. Like, he is very much the protagonist of this movie, or at least, I don't know, the savior of this movie.
That's my theory.
He's not an antagonist.
Right here, I think he was just very much trying to endear himself to his future wife and was helping her mom, her daughter, and also legitimately needed to use the bathroom.
There you go. Agreed. Definitely. That's what happened.
He came out of the bathroom, saw Delia saying his name, was like, oh, I should help her.
I 100% believe that Beetlejuice's actions in this movie, supported by the movie itself, and the plot, and all of his everything he says and everything he does, I think that he literally was trying to essentially make it up to her and do what he could to endear himself to her. really going out of his way to essentially help out Lydia. He's breaking the law for her. He goes to jail for her. And honestly, I thought it was unfair that they are like, haha, you broke the law for my mom, therefore you voided the contract you made with her, which is why you broke the law for her. And now stupid. You don't get to marry her. And
I really hated that. That just like this random Astrid, who didn't read the contract.
No,
how did she know
the rules?
She's like, contract's null and void. Bye.
Well, and I'm just like, this is also dumb because like his contract was to do illegal stuff, right? Like, that's like if you make a deal with like a mob boss and you're like, hey, I want you to murder this guy, murder Billy over here, and I'll pay you $1 million. Then the mob boss murders Billy, and he's like, you just murdered him. That's illegal. Our contract is null. I don't have to pay you $1 million. No, the mob boss is going to come murder you now, dude. Like,
I think the mob bosses are usually the ones hiring the assassins.
I know. I'm just saying, like, just because you made a deal asking someone to do something illegal doesn't completely absolve you of remediating that person with whatever you promised them. Like, I mean...
And if you're doing something illegal, you might not want, like, a paper trail contract. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
so they have a big song and dance number at the end, which I think is sort of their callback to Tally Me Banana.
Oh, you think? Did you pick up on that?
I feel like they should have picked a less muted song. Like this one is just so...
It was very much not over the top, I guess. I don't know.
Everything feels kind of muted, and it's like I never use that recipe again.
Yeah.
I only know that song from the tail end in Simpsons, like the first episode of Simpsons, I think.
Really?
Where they're like, it's Apu's niece is singing the end of that song. She comes out on stage and says, I'm so-and-so Nahasapi Mapedalon, and everyone laughs. And she goes, no, I am serious. And then it skips forward in time and she's singing the end of that song and everyone just looks horrified. And then she leaves. And I never really understood what the joke was. She just sings the part about never found that recipe again or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I do remember that scene. I didn't put two and two together. I didn't realize that was this song.
My last note was just that Winona Ryder, who is a good actor, I like her, throughout this entire movie, all she does is look shocked and confused. That's her entire thing. It's just, what? Huh? Which is also all she does in Stranger Things. So that's just like her thing now. She just looks shocked and confused all the time. Now, what do you think? Do you think that Bob was the decoy for Beetlejuice and got his head shrunk at the end of the first movie?
No, I think that was entirely your interpretation of it. There's no evidence.
It's so obvious. It's so obvious. But he was alive in 1372.
It's implied that Bob was not a Beetlejuice decoy until the instant he became one in Beetlejuice, meaning he was not a Beetlejuice decoy.
Always dress him up as Beetlejuice only when he knows he needs a decoy.
But then why was he explaining to Bob if this is something Bob has done before and does often? Why was he like, okay, now you're going to look just like me. And if she comes after me, she'll find you instead. Wouldn't that just be par for the course?
Bob has like a pea brain. Have you seen the size of his head? He needs things explained to him.
You did point out, and now I understand why, you did point out that there's a lot of needless exposition in that movie. So maybe this is just a situation of the characters saying stuff that they should already know, but they're saying it for the audience. Exactly. All right, you're starting to win me over. You're getting the message through my pea brain head. Yeah, sure. Bob could have been. He was Beetlejuice's decoy, as we saw, and he could have been Beetlejuice's decoy before. The dates match up for his death, and he does have a shrunken head. So there you go. That's that makes sense. His head got shrunk in the first movie.
And they shouldn't have killed Bob. Obviously, they knew he was going to be a fan favorite
Bob was the best character in the movie.
They said in loving memory. Like everyone when he died in the theater was like, "Oh."
Well, and it wouldn't have been so bad because people come back from the dead all the time in those movies, except they killed him in the way where they were like, "And you'll never come back if you get your soul sucked." And they did the same thing to Danny DeVito, who was the second best character in that movie. Man. All right. Well,
Okay.
I can buy your theory if you can buy my theory. So let's leave it at that. And everybody, wishing you all a happy Halloween and a jolly hollow day after.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed the theory. If you do, make sure you give it a like. Tell your friends. The more people who listen to our theories, the more people you can talk to about our crazy theories, and the more people you can
What?
theorize with yourself. Do we have a Patreon or anything where people could
Yeah, we've
listen
got
to
a
even more of
Patreon.
us?
There's even more content on Patreon. We've got
Yeah, you can
outtakes.
listen to the cut content. So
All right.
everybody, thanks
Until
for
next
listening.
time,
Remember,
the
the
popcorn
popcorn isn't real.
real.